Behind the King are the Prince and Princess of Wales with their 3 children, Prince George of Wales, Prince Charlotte and Prince Louis. Then comes the carriage of the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. And Lady Louise Mountbatten-Windsor and the Earl of Wessex, their children. No coach for Prince Harry, though, who is no longer a serving royal. In the state car behind will be the Duke of Kent and Princess Alexandra. Members of the royal family seen there. Prince Harry flew over on a commercial flight for the event and is not expected to hang around very long. Parties are being held up and down the country to celebrate the coronation. There's Andrew there. Today's festivities will finish up with a flypast by the Royal Air Force and members of the Royal Arrows display team, with the royal couple, King Charles and Queen Camilla, on the balcony with members of the other members of the royal family. All the nations of the Commonwealth represented in this procession. Is the Gold State Coach. There were some anti-monarchy demonstrations in London today, but no major incidents. Procession going past Trafalgar Square and on through Admiralty Arch. Those wheels not looking very straight, but one assumes they're well fixed on. Every royal event comes with a suggested dish from the monarch. The late Queen, for example, chose a pudding for her Platinum Jubilee. These suggestions are meant to be easy to make and serve to guests in the hope they will be a centrepiece for street parties and community events. Well, today's dish is the Coronation Quiche, personally chosen by the King and Camilla, the Queen Consort. It includes spinach, broad beans, cheese and tarragon. The recipe posted on the royal family's social media platforms does contain lard, but vegetarians should note that it can be easily adapted to different tastes and preferences. The monarchy remains broadly popular as an institution in the United Kingdom, with a recent YouGov opinion poll showing 58% of the population preferred it to an elected head of state, which was supported by 26%. Below those headline figures, there were differences between the generations, with the over 65s most likely to support the monarchy, with 78% of those people expecting to support the monarchy, while only 32% of the 18 to 24-year-old category supported the monarchy as an institution. Out of 10 of 18 to 24-year-olds said they'd prefer an elected head of state. Have also been questions over the tax status of the royal family, with critics saying that the revenues from the duchies of Lancaster and Cornwall should go to the public fund services rather than remaining within the royal family for the coverage of the royal family's expenses. Buckingham Palace says decisions about funding and taxation are decided by the government and not by the royal family themselves. And there, still able to ride on horseback. Of an outsider figure in the royal family, she chose not to bestow titles on her children, preferring that they be able to grow up with a more normal life. Loud cheering from the assembled crowds. Places to watch this procession were given out on a first-come, first-served basis for the members of the public. Many queuing for many days to make sure that they had a spot. Some places were, though, reserved as reward for active members of the community. Members of the National Health Service and those involved in charitable work. Today's ceremony went off without any major glitches. Slight adjustment needed when the crowns were placed on the heads. Almost a little pen moment when King Charles signed his oaths, but that passed off without incident in the end. Charles had a somewhat pained look on his face through much of the ceremony. Clearly, these kind of public shows aren't his thing. Perhaps much happier on his duchy farm estates, working for his charitable causes, than being paraded in the public eye in this manner. He's now looking, though, a little bit more relaxed. Now it's all over without any major incidents. Buckingham Palace balcony that we saw there in the distance is one of the most famous in the world. The first recorded royal appearance on the balcony took place in 1851, when Queen Victoria stepped onto it during celebrations for the opening of the Great Exhibition. Then it's become a staple of royal appearances. At the end of the trooping of the colour for royal weddings, jubilees, and special national events such as the anniversary of the Battle of Britain. The Coronation Flypast will consist of more than 60 aircraft from the Royal Navy, British Army and Royal Air Force flying over the Mall in central London. It'll last for some 6 minutes. And the Royal Air Force aerobatic team, the Red Arrows, will follow with dozens of aircraft used by the armed forces on operations around the world. Featured amongst the aerial procession will be aircraft that have delivered support to Ukraine, supported disaster relief, policed NATO airspace, and deterred drug trafficking. There'll also be 16 helicopters, the historic Spitfires of the RAF Battle of Britain Memorial Flight, and the RAF state-of-the-art F-35 Lightning jets. Is now arriving at Buckingham Palace. Tomorrow there will be a coronation concert in front of 20,000 members of the public in the grounds of Windsor Castle. Take That, Katy Perry, Lionel Richie, among those who will be performing at the concert. And big lunches will also be held across the country. These are community-focused lunches designed to bring people together from different walks of life, and they'll be taking place in towns, villages and cities across the country over the next 3 days. And on Monday there will be the big help out, designed to encourage people to join volunteering activities. Volunteering activities will be showcased again across the country, organised by the Together Coalition. King Charles is, of course, well known as a champion of environmental issues that he's been speaking out on for over 50 years now. He first spoke publicly about his concerns on pollution and plastics and their impact on the natural world back in 1970. He does drive an Aston Martin DB6 Mark II, but it runs on bioethanol fuel made from the byproducts of the wine and cheese industries. He's presented the weather forecast on the BBC, appeared in the popular soap operas Coronation Street and EastEnders. He's written a book. He's a member of the Magic Circle. And he's the patron of over 800 charities. He is also a keen painter and had a watercolour displayed in the Royal Academy's 1987 summer exhibition after it was submitted anonymously. Among those who haven't been invited today are most of Britain's 24 non-royal dukes. The aristocracy has normally attended in coronation robes, but with the invitation list being trimmed down, Charles chose a meritocratic and not an aristocratic list. Much to the disgruntlement of many of those dukes. The Duke of Rutland telling one newspaper he was disappointed as it had been families like mine that have supported the royal family for over 1,000 years.
Welcome! Up! Round! Up! Hooray! Go! Up!
These are pictures from Buckingham Palace Gardens with a royal salute from the members of the armed forces who have been on parade. Here comes the King to receive the salute, followed by Queen Consort Camilla.
His Majesty's Armed Forces! Royal Salute! Present! Oh! King and Her Majesty the Queen! Hip hip! Hip hip! Hip hip! The parade will replace her dress! Replace! Headdress! Turn! Rules! Quick! March!
Saw there accompanying Queen Camilla, her ladies in attendance, her younger sibling Annabel Elliot, 74, and the Marchioness of Lansdowne. Ladies in attendance have replaced the traditional role of ladies in waiting. Pictures of crowds pouring into the Mall there, hoping to get a glimpse of the royal balcony. Members of the public who had been lining the parade, lining the streets for the parade, now approaching Buckingham Palace. Crowds pouring away from Parliament Square there, up through Admiralty Arch, hoping to get a glimpse of the royal couple on the balcony. Word seems to have got out that there are places available. People hurrying their way along. But you're going to need binoculars.
Oh, we're always live on Sky News, right? Steady pace.
A few umbrellas up there, just a bit of light rain, but most people managing without. Just joining us, we're watching pictures of crowds massing at Buckingham Palace following the coronation of King Charles and Queen Camilla. Charles and Camilla are expected to appear on the Buckingham Palace balcony very shortly, and at 15:15 Central European Time, just 10 minutes time, we'll be having a fly past organised by the Royal Air Force, featuring the Red Arrows display team. It's been a grey and wet day in London, but that hasn't deterred the crowds. The Commonwealth there mixing in a couple of Canadians and Australians, we can see there. The flags of the Commonwealth lining the Mall, interspersed with the Union Jack. Or the Union flag, as purists would say. Today's ceremony went off without any major hitches, featured a number of new compositions from composers, and for the first time introduced the presence of leaders of many faiths from different communities and many languages. We heard hymns sung in Gaelic and Welsh. We had a Bible reading from Rishi Sunak, the British Prime Minister, who is of Hindu origin. King Charles and Queen Camilla appeared somewhat tense throughout the ceremony. There was a little moment of tension when they arrived in the carriage. King Charles appeared somewhat flustered by an unknown incident. The atmosphere relaxed a little once the main ceremonies were successfully completed. The Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, gave the sermon praising King Charles's life as an example of love in action. Notably through his work for charitable associations, saying he was presiding over strong, joyful and happy society. Prizes which could not be won through war or tyranny. Without doubt, an oblique reference to the war in Ukraine, although there was no specific mention of the political context. We heard a new composition from Andrew Lloyd Webber, which gave a lighter flavour to the ceremony. There have been a few demonstrations by Republicans in London today, but nothing to disrupt the day's events, which have been the subject of a very tight security operation. Members of the public being invited to advance down the Mall in orderly fashion, slowly towards the balcony. Maybe this security operation will delay somewhat the appearance on the balcony. We were expecting that the King and Queen would already be on the balcony, but it looks like for crowd control reasons. Their appearance will be delayed by a few minutes. As you can see, a giant procession of members of the public gradually making its way forward to Buckingham Palace. It looks like that's as far as they're going to be allowed to go. They're not going to be able to go right up as far as the gates of the palace, so it's going to be a little bit of a distant view for those at the back of the crowd. But the important thing is to be there. At 73, Charles is the oldest person to accede to the British throne. He was 73 when he acceded. He's now 74. So his reign will be the reign of a later life. But those that know him say the long wait was not a cause of frustration for him, contrary to what some rumours said, and that on the contrary he was very happy to devote his life to his causes, his campaigns. And the development of his organic farming business. It is now expected, though, that as monarch he will have to rein in some of his activist actions. For example, he was requested by the British Prime Minister not to attend the recent COP summit on the question of global warming. He had previously attended other summits as the Prince of Wales, but as the monarch, the then Prime Minister Liz Truss gave the instruction that it wouldn't be appropriate for the British monarch to participate in such a meeting. When the monarchy was restored in the United Kingdom in 1688, it was under the understanding, sorry, in 1660, it was on the understanding that the monarch would take a back seat in political matters and would be purely a constitutional monarch. The role of governing the country would be firmly maintained by the Houses of Parliament and not by the monarch at all. And that deal has broadly speaking been kept. Queen Elizabeth was notably very restrained in making any political views known. Charles has in the past been more outspoken, but it's understood that he's now accepted the need to be more restrained now that he has acceded to the throne. The stands you see in the background are for invited guests from the community. Health service workers, members of community associations. King Charles has sought to make this coronation event a popular event, or a celebration of the popular activism sector, the charitable sector, and not so much a celebration of the monarchy itself or the aristocracy. Crowds are now being allowed to advance towards the gates of Buckingham Palace. And no doubt the appearance of the King and Queen on the balcony is being slightly delayed to give everybody time to make their way forward without creating any untoward crowd movements. There has been some debate as to who we will actually see on the balcony. Will there be a place for Prince Andrew or Prince Harry, who are no longer officially active royals but remain members of the family? It does seem unlikely that those two princes will make an appearance on the balcony, but we don't know. If you're just joining us, we're watching the crowds amassing in front of the balcony of Buckingham Palace in London, following the coronation of King Charles III and Queen Consort Camilla. The couple are expected to be appearing on the balcony very, very shortly, and there will be a flypast organised by the Royal Air Force. There's been rain throughout the day in London, not heavy but light drizzle throughout the day, but otherwise the ceremony has passed off successfully. Large number of Europe's leaders have been present at today's events. Active royals such as Belgium's King Philippe, King Willem Alexander and Queen Maxima of the Netherlands, King Carl XVI Gustaf from Sweden, Crown Prince Frederick and Crown Princess Mary of Denmark, Grand Duke Henri and Grand Duchess Maria Theresa from Luxembourg, Spain's King Felipe, Queen Anne-Marie of Greece, Prince Alois of Liechtenstein, Prince Albert and Princess Charlene of Monaco, and representatives of former monarchies from Serbia, Romania, Bulgaria, as well as representatives from countries which are not monarchies. The European Union was represented by Ursula von der Leyen, Roberta Metsola and Charles Michel. Poland was represented by its president, Andrzej Duda. Germany by its president, Frank-Walter Steinmeier. France's President Emmanuel Macron has also been there, as well as the President of Italy, Sergio Mattarella. Ireland's President, Michael Higgins. Boranja Christo, the chair of the Council of Ministers of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Nikos Christodoulides, President of Cyprus. Petra Pavel, the President of the Czech Republic. Alexander Van der Bellen, the Federal President of Austria. There's also been plenty of representatives from across the world. I'll pause there because now we are seeing King Charles and Queen Camilla coming forward onto the balcony of Buckingham Palace. Wave there from the King, surrounded by their pages of honor. Lots of cheering there from the crowd who have amassed in front of Buckingham Palace. And there, other members of the royal family have joined the King and the Queen on the balcony. The Queen's companions and pages, the King's pages. The members of the royal family, the grandchildren. Charles and Queen Camilla looking a lot more relaxed now than they were before the ceremony began. All the active members of the royal family are present. You just saw there Prince Michael of Kent and Princess Michael of Kent, Princess Alexandra, the Duke of Gloucester. Shouts of "Long live the King." Prince Edward there on the left. King Charles often gives the impression he's not quite sure what he's supposed to be doing, but that's his nature. And here, the flypast is beginning with helicopters. spontaneous singing of God Save the Queen. Royal grandchildren there taking a wave. Princess Charlotte, Prince Louis. And the flypast begins with 16 helicopters. Featured in this aerial procession are aircraft that have delivered support to Ukraine, as well as supporting disaster relief and policing NATO airspace. Here are the Red Arrows, the Royal Air Force Aerobatic Display Team. So that brings to an end the celebrations of the coronation of King Charles III and Queen Camilla. There will, of course, be more festivities throughout the weekend and through on to Monday throughout the United Kingdom. But the formal ceremony there comes to an end with the fly past by the Royal Arrows. Thanks going out to the crowd there for braving the British weather. A lot of visitors to the United Kingdom amongst this crowd, of course. And they've enjoyed their day despite the rain. Reprise there, a little encore for King Charles and Queen Camilla. It's like being at the West End Theatre. Pages coming out for their encore, or rather to maybe help the King and Queen with their robes. A big day for the pages. King Charles chose the sons of three of his friends. Lord Oliver Cholmondeley, Nicholas Berkeley and Ralph Tolnark, alongside Prince George, the 9-year-old son of William and Kate. Well, our live coverage of the coronation is coming to close very shortly. We hope that you've enjoyed watching the coronation on Euronews. We'll have all the latest European and international news in our next bulletin coming up very shortly. And you can keep up to date with news from Euronews on on our website, Euronews.com.
Britain's Charles III is officially crowned king in front of millions of spectators in the UK and abroad.
Iran executes an Iranian-Swedish dissident convicted of being the mastermind behind a series of bombings by an Arab separatist group.
Hopes for progress in Sudan as representatives of the two warring parties meet for talks in Saudi Arabia.
It's the moment he has been waiting for his entire life. Britain's King Charles III was crowned on Saturday at Westminster Abbey in London in a solemn Christian ceremony 8 months after the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II. The Archbishop of Canterbury placed the solid gold, jewel-encrusted crown of St. Edward on the 74-year-old monarch's head as the highlight of the ceremony. Charles's heir William, kneeling, then pledged allegiance to his father. Camilla, 75, Charles's second wife, was then blessed and crowned. Finally, once the ceremony was over, the King and Queen left the Abbey to begin what is known as the King's Procession, where the royal couple made their way back to Buckingham Palace while saluting the cheering crowds. Along the 2-kilometre route taken by the King and Queen, thousands of people from across the UK and the world gathered in the London rain to celebrate the historic event.
At least 19 environmental activists were arrested as they prepared to protest along the route of the coronation procession. They were carried away by police as they shouted messages about climate change, while some were wearing T-shirts reading "Just Stop Oil." Several members of the anti-monarchy group Republic were also detained. They'd planned to hold placards and chant "Not My King." The group says police were informed in advance of the plans. The arrests have sparked widespread criticism that police are stifling free speech.
Iranian-Swedish dissident Habib Shahab last year attending the first hearing of his trial in Iran's capital Tehran on terrorism charges. On Saturday, the court announced he'd been executed by hanging. Shahab was sentenced to death earlier this year for allegedly masterminding a series of bomb attacks carried out by an Arab separatist group in the west of the country. This includes a 2018 attack on a military parade in which at least 25 people died. Sweden has reacted with dismay to the execution.
After weeks of fierce fighting that's killed hundreds and pushed Sudan to the brink of collapse, hopes for progress as the heads of the two warring sides send their envoys to Saudi Arabia for talks aimed at firming up a shaky ceasefire. Meetings are due to begin today in Jeddah and will be the first negotiations between the Sudanese military and its former ally, the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, since fighting broke out last month. There's growing concern for people trapped and displaced by the fighting, with aid groups warning of a desperate lack of basic services, medical care, food and water.
The World Health Organization has marked a symbolic end to the coronavirus pandemic.
It's therefore with great hope that I declare COVID-19 over as a global health emergency.
It comes more than 3 years after it was declared an international crisis.
I want everybody to understand that COVID-19 was the one that got away, but, you know, every day the World Health Organization is hearing reports of other viruses and bacteria that are causing danger to people's health, right? And so I want to say to everybody, you know, all the time there are potential threats to health that are stalking us. And that's why we encourage hygiene.
The WHO warns, however, that ending the emergency does not mean COVID-19 is over as a global health threat. It says thousands of people are still dying from the virus every week.
Forward, with every step, faster, every day, every hurdle, closer to our dreams. Where becoming extraordinary is an everyday business. To run faster, throw further, jump higher. This is how superheroes are made. This August, Budapest will welcome superheroes from all over the world to where dreams unfold and records are broken. Get ready to witness the wonder. Buy your tickets to the 2023 World Athletics Championships in Budapest.
Oh, how about a spark of inspiration? Yeah! Try that on for size. Level up in Forge of Empires. Play now for free at FOE.tv or download the app.
It's been such an amazing time for me here in Romania.
You changed your approach to plastic waste?
I turned my backyard garden into an urban garden here in London.
The intersections between art and technology are truly endless.
How do you provide creativity for the team or for myself? I definitely have the coolest job in the world.
Hello and welcome to the State of the Union from Euronews in Brussels. For decades, European Union countries are under the shadow of military protection from the United States through NATO, which means they haven't been investing a great deal in the domestic production of weapons. But then Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. So this week, the European Commission laid out plans aimed at supporting ammunition production. With a budget of 500 million euros, the aim is to co-finance projects for the defense industry and try to reinforce the bloc's geopolitical credentials.
ASAP aims at consolidating our European defense industrial base to meet the needs of Ukraine, but also, I must say, in the longer term to meet the new security challenges in Europe, because of course all member states are committed to increasing their defense spending.
It's common knowledge that the war in Ukraine has had a huge impact on the supply of energy, fertilizers and food, notably grains, for over a year now. The Black Sea Grain Initiative has helped release millions of tons of grain from Ukrainian ports to less developed countries, especially in Africa. But the shock has been such that in 2022, the number of people facing acute food insecurity has risen to 258 million people in 58 countries. That's 65 million more people than in the previous year. These figures from the Global Report on Food Crisis were presented this week by an international network created 7 years ago. It is a global alliance between the United Nations, the European Union, as well as different agencies and organizations working to combat the food crisis. One of them is the FAO, the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, that held a high-level event to present the findings and discuss solutions. Their director of the Office for Emergencies and Resilience presented a short version to the press of what is at stake.
It's really this interplay of issues and overlapping of the impacts of violence on top of economic challenges, not least driven by sort of the ripple effects from the COVID-19 pandemic that the world has been feeling. And then, of course, climate challenges, the climate crisis and everything that means in terms of extreme weather events.
My guest is Lavinia Antonacci, Food Crisis Analyst at FAO. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Hello.
Conflict and climate catastrophes are well known for causing food crisis, but for the first time, economic shocks are the main driver in 27 countries. Is this linked to the war in Ukraine?
In 2022, the report highlights that there are 84 million people in these countries that have economic as the primary driver of food insecurity. And this is particularly linked to the economic fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic and the ripple effects of the war in Ukraine. So the economic vulnerabilities, pre-existing vulnerability, have been exacerbated also by the war in Ukraine.
But even though there was this international agreement about grain exports from the Black Sea, it was not timely enough to help some people last year, and it may be not enough to help people this year.
I would say that these global initiatives have definitely helped in mitigating the crisis at the global level. And so also the effects in the countries are being also felt, although market prices yet have to decline in some countries. But yes, I would say that the effects have been positive, although we face already pre-existing economic vulnerabilities in many countries.
How should we be helping the people that are currently in need, but also to address some of the root causes, namely deficiencies in agriculture in many of the countries of the global south?
Around $14 billion were allocated to food crisis countries. However, in this humanitarian context, investing in agriculture is very important, while in this moment is only marginally funded. If you think that only 4% of this humanitarian allocation in food crisis countries goes to agriculture and livelihood support.
Scientists say the climate phenomena El Nino will play a serious role already in 2023, leading to a lot of droughts, a lot of flooding. Is there enough preparation already to address the coming effects in terms of the famine front?
The FAO, together with other agencies, is already putting in place protocols and plans, like, for example, the anticipatory action protocols, especially in countries where food security is a major concern. For instance, there are active anticipatory action protocols for drought in Burkina Faso, in Chad, in Niger, but also Southern Africa. So these are countries that are very already facing a dire situation in terms of acute food insecurity.
So, Lavinia Antonacci, analyst at FAO, thank you very much for your contributions to the program.
Thank you very much.
To conclude in a more positive note, we remind you that the Liverpool Arena in the United Kingdom will be the venue for the Eurovision Song Contest. It should have taken place in Ukraine, which won the competition last year, but we all know the reasons why it has to be somewhere else. The semi-finals will be next Tuesday and Thursday, with the final on the 13th of May. Last year's winner, Kalush Orchestra, and a performance titled Voices of a New Generation will open the show. But until then, the artists are preparing to give their best performance and convince the audience to vote for them. There are 37 songs in the running, but of course only one can be the winner of this 67th Eurovision Song Contest. That's it for this edition. Thank you for watching. Have an excellent.
Good morning, Europe. Thank you for deciding to start your day with us.
Madrid.
Lisboa.
Das Land
delle elezioni.
Bruxelles, je t'aime.
Willkommen bei Europa.
Bienvenidos.
Welcome to Euronews.
Your next news bulletin on Euronews is coming up in under 2 minutes.
you.